For this test, we're going to talk about turbidity. Turbidity is a measure of clarity of water, and it's important to remember we're going to be comparing your stream samples to distilled water. Distilled water is always clear. Stream water always has some sort of color to it, so please don't test for color. You're actually testing for how clear or cloudy that water is based on the test. So you're going to go ahead and collect your sample water. It's helpful if you haven't marked both of your tubes, sample and distilled water. So we're going to go ahead and put 50 milliliters up to the line into the sample water container. And we're going to do the same with the distilled water container next to it. All right, so now you want to examine the dots that are at the bottom of each container. I'm going to highlight those right here, and there's one right here. We know the distilled water is clear, and we want to compare the clarity to the sample water on the left, noting what the water looks like, not necessarily what the color is. For this test, you're going to be using the standard turbidity reagent, and it's going to need to be shaken to make sure it's ready to go. And when you add materials from this one, you're not adding drops, you're adding dropper fulls. So you'll notice there's the 0.5 milliliter line there. You want to fill that all the way up to that point, and then you're going to add that to your distilled water sample. Did you hear that? The distilled water sample, not the stream sample. And as you do that, that's going to make that sample a little cloudier, if you will, so that we can make that comparison with the actual stream water. Now in this case, our sample water was pretty clear to start out with, and you'll notice if you look at the distilled water, you can see the distilled water is actually cloudier than our sample water. So we know that in this case that our sample water is pretty clear today. In this specific case, you're going to read the sample water as a 0 and say the water is clear today. Now if you happen to be sampling water and it rained the day before, or maybe there's a lot of erosion in your site, you're going to find that this is much cloudier, similar to what we did here. And if you read your instruction cards, there are information on how to actually measure out the JTUs for this sample. And to calculate the JTUs, you'll take the number of dropper fulls you add, and you'll multiply that by 5, and then report that number to your data collector. Because this test is fairly quick, you will be doing a sample B test next. So you'll clean up your materials, and you'll go ahead and repeat this entire test to do your sample B test, and then record those results to your data collector.